Been ready and waiting. Okay, thank you. We'll call to order the Legal Affairs Committee and also Committee of the Whole, the City Council. And on our agenda today, we are going to take up orders number 276 and order number 276A, both related to the charter review and proposed amendments by the mayor, and also just the incorporated edits of the draft that the City Council approved, along with the mayor's proposed amendments. Tonight, let's see, first, thank you everybody for being here tonight. I'd like to call Jerry Perry up to the podium first, just to talk about the charter in general. You've been involved with this for the past 2 years.
2 years.
So take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, everyone. If I could make, with your permission, a few preliminary comments about the charter, and I'm going to make a recommendation to you all tonight, and then I think I'll be followed by our consultant, Malin Contreras, and I see our city solicitor. Always a pleasure to see her. I'm sure she'll be involved in some dialogue tonight for you as well. As you know, we started this journey, if you will, 2 years ago. Councilor, good evening. We started this journey 2 years ago. Former City Council put together a committee to address the charter, which we do approximately once every 10 years, I believe it is. And they established a committee of groups, of which Councilor Bowen was involved with it, who just walked in with us here, and spent about a year and a half or so studying and analyzing various concepts. They made recommendations to the City Council, and as you know, we've had a process where we voted on this once. Part of the process, I think, as we've all understood, was the mayor has a shot at this. The mayor has the opportunity to review the recommendations of the committee and the vote of the council, and in his case, he has the ability to modify it, veto things, or whatever terminology you want to use. And as the CEO of the city, he has a lot of weight in this process, and it's certainly something that has to be considered with regard to how we go forward here. The way this is going to work is tonight, as you know, you're going to vote on the mayor sent you a letter dated November 7th with several pages. It's really broken down into two categories. One is various policy issues that he either agreed or disagreed with, which he articulated to the council. And then there's a second section, I'm going to call it wordsmithing. We're back to wordsmithing. We've done a lot of wordsmithing on this document. I'm hoping that the wordsmithing ends here. I mean, I'm praying that that's the case. But so there are two elements to the mayor's document that you need to address tonight. In my, I guess as your budget and management analyst, it is my recommendation to the committee and the council as a whole that you adopt the mayor's proposal. I think we come to the point where we all agree that no one individual is going to agree with the entire document. We all have our differences of opinions, and there's some things in the mayor's proposal. I'm not a policymaker per se, I don't get to vote on it, but I don't necessarily agree with it either, but no one agrees with everything. However, when you look at the document in its totality, as we're pretty close to the end here, in my view and in my opinion, as both your budget and more importantly your management analyst, I think it's a really good document. It's going to improve the way we run the city. I think it's going to be in the best interest of the taxpayers and the residents and the voters of this community. And as you know, there are several elements of the document where we're going to go for a referendum in the fall when we get this all done here, where the voters get to make a decision. As an example, should we have a 2 or 4 year term, or should we have 2 more additional elected officials on the school committee? So things of that nature is allowing the residents to make their own decisions. It's really important to you that I articulate a concern that I've had the opportunity to discuss with the consultant, Malin Contreras, as well as our city solicitor a few weeks ago, is time management. I am getting worried we're starting to run out of time, as crazy as that sounds. We need to have everything ready to go for our referendum sometime in November. And as such, if you work backwards from November, we have to get this vote out. We have to vote on this again I'm assuming February 6th, to agree to the mayor's proposals. and I'm still learning as I go myself here. I understand there's going to have to be another vote, which I think Ms. Contreras or the solicitor, to agree to the home rule petition in general to get it out. So both the solicitor and working with Marilyn Contreras has got to work on the document. I think they've been working on it a little bit to get it out. So really, if the best case scenario, if we get things out here, would be the end of February to get it voted out of the council. And then we have to send it up to State House through the legislative delegation of Senator Lovely and Representative Paracella. We have a new governor. They have a late budget, as you normally know, and from our own experience, and I know Marilyn Contreras, it's not that easy to get a home rule petition through. So it's important that we start thinking of the time management element of this, and I'm glad a lot of the councils are here tonight. The other thing I would articulate to you, when it gets up to the various committees at the State House and they look at it, one of the things they're going to look at is the vote of the council as a whole. If they see a 9-0 vote, I think you'll have a lot easier getting it through the legislature and to the governor. If they see a 5-4 vote, they may be less inclined to support it. So you have to think about that when you take your vote as a whole, as a committee, how you voted out. I'm optimistic, it'll be a strong majority, if not a unanimous vote, but think about that. It's important you be aware of that, how the legislature looks at how the leadership of the community votes these things out, and are there conflicts. Bottom line, Madam Chair, and I'm only happy to answer any questions, it is my recommendation you support the mayor's proposals as adopted in his letter of November 7th, as I've already articulated, and I would urge the council as a whole, because unfortunately I will not be available in the month of February, as I've told a few of you, but I would recommend to you strongly that the council as a whole vote the home rule petition as proposed. Madam Chair, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you or your colleagues may have right now.
Thank you so much. Questions from committee members? Nothing right now for Mr. Perry? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, and I think, with your permission, I think Ms. Contreras would like to say a few words.
I think that would be perfect. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us, Ms. Contreras, and for, being involved and guiding us through this whole process, from committee, through the council, through legal affairs, back to the council, and now back to the committee.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Jerry asked me to just reiterate the process once we get through the sort of the local steps. The last local step is that you will have to approve the petition itself. The proposed legislation that will be signed by the mayor and be filed by your state senator and your state representative. Then there's a hearing before the Committee on Municipal and Regional Government. And then they report it out. Then you hope that you get it on the calendar. You'll be notified of the date of the hearing. They do expect community participation. They do expect community officials to testify or to submit written testimony. Then you just have to wait your turn on the calendar, and that's basically when you depend on your state representative and your state senator to kind of make people aware that you're waiting. It helps that you do want to get it on the November 23 ballot. That means it really does have to go out of the governor's office by the end of August. So that's basically my understanding of the calendar going forward.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members for Marilyn Contreras? No? Anything? Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Sure. And Solicitor Williams, would you also just like to sort of highlight the process we've gone through and kind of confirm what our next couple steps are?
Well, I think that Mr. Perry and Ms. Contreras covered it thoroughly, so I don't think you need to hear from me again. If you have questions about it, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. And so can you just confirm that our next step, we're not approving the submittal of the home rule petition right now? We'll have to receive that as a council, and that will be a whole separate
Right,
process.
that will be a separate document that will be filed with you once it becomes clear what the city council and the mayor both have finally agreed on for proposed changes to go to the state legislature. So tonight, you're voting on whether or not to recommend to the city council to accept and approve the changes that the mayor has proposed to the charter, or the items that he has not approved, and whether notwithstanding that, you would like to recommend that the charter still go to the state legislature, even without some of the items that the city council had voted to change.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Any questions from committee members for Solicitor Williams? Counselor Sweeney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a specific question, well, a general question about a specific provision. Section 815 was one of the sections that the mayor essentially altered with the proposal that he sent back to the council for our review. I had the chance to meet with the mayor and talk with Mr. Perry, but am still not entirely sure, and perhaps you could summarize what the general purpose of these changes are, as opposed to what. So I didn't really see what substantive operational difference there would be between what was brought to the mayor and came out of our committee and was voted on the council for Section
Sure.
815 about.
I mean, I think that is a fair comment, and I will just say that these are the mayor's proposed changes, not mine. So I think I can sort of read through the section with you and tell you what my opinion is about whether anything is substantive or not. I just want to grab his letter.
Does anyone have a page number on section 815? I have the mayor's letter and see the amendments, but I want to make sure if we're,
It's page 84.
thank you. That's also the document that Ms.
Right.
Kent
So I
sent
think
today.
I'm not sure, Counselor Sweeney, if you're really referring to the changes that the mayor has proposed to what would be now sections 815A and B, city council appointments and appointments, any city employee of the city not subject to the provisions of A and B. Because the mayor didn't approve of the complete removal of section 3-4. So that's why, if you read his letter, the very first part of section 815, or the proposed mayoral appointment section in 815, he has not agreed to approving. So that's just gone.
Okay.
Is a substantive change, right? And so he just wants to leave it as is,
Okay.
as it was voted on by the residents of the city in 1995. The removal, the chief executive's removal of their appointees. Okay, so that's one thing. That is a substantive difference. And then with respect to 815, so then that would be a renumbering of 815 to 815A would be city council appointments. And I think the only thing there is that it's been changed so that it's option of suspend and/or remove throughout, as opposed to, in some places it just said suspend, in some places it said or suspend or remove. You should have the option of both. So that's not of great substance, to your point. And then in both sections, and that would be the comment in both sections, and in both sections, I think the other change of substance is that in the first instance, when there is disciplinary action taken against an employee, whether it's a city council appointee or somebody who doesn't fall in within the category of a direct report to the mayor, that the notice should go to Human Resources and not to the city clerk, because this is a personnel matter. And just because you're a public employee, you don't lose necessarily your rights to privacy around a personnel issue. So I think for employees that fall within the executive branch, which would be the new 815B, that notice would just simply go to the Human Resources Department and then be worked through by the Human Resources Department in the mayor's office. And then I think for city council appointees, it was the suggested change is that the notice of removal and any statement that an employee would like to file would go to the Human Resources Department at first, and then the city council president. So it shouldn't automatically go to the city clerk. I think that's the main change.
And
So
that's,
to your point, there really aren't significant substantive changes,
okay. And that's helpful that, you know,
in my
was-
opinion.
Okay, thank you. That was what I was getting at with the question. I appreciate you walking through that.
So, so what we have in front of us are, with order order number 276, basically, you know, a list of 23 amendments from the kind of first section of the mayor's letter. And in the mayor's letter, that section 1 is titled Proposed Amendments Not Approved or That Are Conditionally Approved as Noted. So looking at that first section, I'd first like to just ask the committee if you have more questions about that section or anticipate making any amendments to that section.
I do not, Madam Chair.
I do have a question that I should have asked earlier for
That's
Mr.
okay,
Perry,
now's
if
the
that's
time.
okay.
Absolutely. Mr. Perry?
So this is about the proposed amendment from the mayor to strike what was an added section, Section 6.2, the annual budget meeting. I know we've discussed this in one-on-one conversations. I've discussed it with the mayor. I'm comfortable with his recommendation, given that we could pursue strengthening the ordinance that exists that governs the joint city council school committee meeting. But I would like to hear your perspective. I know that the committee obviously recommended it, the Charter Review Committee, and that we all had ultimately approved it. What are your thoughts as to whether or not that would be, like, what is your view on the mayor removing that proposal?
Yeah, the mayor did recommend to remove it. I agree with the mayor on this one. I've articulated this with the committee, as they know. To me, it was redundant. It's a redundancy in my view. There's ample opportunities in the existing process, in my opinion anyways, for input, whether it be from officials, the public in general, but to put another bureaucratic layer, if you will, this is just my view and not shared by everybody, but to put another bureaucratic layer in there for something that, in my view, I just didn't see the asset associated with it. I did not agree with it. It was heavily discussed within the committee. I voiced my opinion to the committee a year and a half ago or something like that, and I'm not surprised the mayor. That's one, I did not agree with it, and at least from my perspective, I think it's the right approach. I agree with the mayor on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from section 1 from committee members? And section 1 refers to basically the 23 proposed amendments that are not approved based on the charter that the city council submitted, the draft charter.
Or approved with conditions.
Or are approved with conditions.
Would you like me to make a motion, Madam Chair? I motion to accept mayor's modifications to the charter as proposed.
Okay, and that, I think, shall we take that, just the section 1? So that
No, we can do both sections. The other one
Okay.
seems to just be wordsmithing.
All right, and just, is there a second for discussion?
Second.
Okay, and just to kind of add to the clarification, section 2 proposes amendments that are, as Mr. Perry said earlier at the introduction of our meeting, that the second section are really sort of editing but not changing the meaning and function of the charter, kind of just clarifying language. Okay, is there any other discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion passes 3-0. Kind of astounding. So that was, I think we also would need to, let's see. So at this point, we could receive and place on file, please correct me if I'm wrong about that, Solicitor Williams. We could receive and place on file 276A, which is your letter.
Yeah, so
Or your-
276A was something I filed at the city council president's request, which was basically an annotation of the draft charter the city council approved, annotated with whatever the mayor's letter was communicating to the city council. So there's no action for you to be taking on that. The action you took is with respect to 276. It's redundant. It's just another, receiving the same information in a different form.
Okay. So then we can, I would accept a motion to receive and place on file order 276A.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. So the next part of this process will be, now that the Legal Affairs Committee has voted this out, this will go out to the full council for discussion and voting. And I believe that's all we have on our agenda this evening. Solicitor Williams?
Did you vote on the second section?
Yes, we took both together.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. That's okay, it was quick. Sort of like, I'm a little bit in shock, actually. Okay. So we will take up, we have a couple of other things on our agenda that we'll take up at a future meeting. And I just want to say thank you to Ms. Oldmixon, who's also here from the solicitor's office. And thank you to school committee member Lorena Bisnick, who has joined us this evening. Thank you to the scouts who are in our audience today, I'm sure completing some type of challenge badge requirement. And a huge thank you to Ms. Contreras for being with us through this process, and I know we'll see you again when it comes to the home rule petition. So that's it. I would like to adjourn committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. And motion to adjourn the Legal Affairs Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you. 7:25.